So today I am speaking with one of our community members and Lumen experts, Lumen ambassadors, Nadia. So Nadia, welcome. How are you today?
How are you?
Amazing. Thanks for being here. I'm really excited to dive into your story today to talk about your progress and all the things that you've learned along the way. Tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you from? How old are you? What do you do?
Okay. So I'm Nadia. As you said, I'm from Florida originally, but I have been kind of traveling the world since 2012. And presently I'm in Indonesia. So I'm a health coach, virtual health coach, and I'm also a teacher, mostly a Singapore math. I started out as an English teacher, but now I mostly teach math and also, of course, health coaching and biohacking and a little bit of virtual assisting, but mostly teaching and coaching are my primaries.
Nice. So you have the life of a digital nomad, and yet you still make time for your health, which I think don't always go hand in hand. So tell us how that started. How did you get into biohacking while you were on the road?
So that's a fun story. Um, this, so I started actually my health journey itself, if I can go back even a little bit further, started out really rocky, probably like many other people start with yo-yo dieting, fad diets, all the quick fix pills and drops and everything you can think of, contour belts and all the things, right? Some things worked better than others, but nothing obviously with sustainable results because we know that's not how you get real results. So I did have a period for a few years of disordered eating. And then when I moved to Czech Republic, was my first time out of the country, like moving abroad. And that was when I told myself to like, okay, this has got to stop. And I kind of, in that way, kind of did it on my own, but it was a slow, steady process of learning how to cook food that grows. And I still used sugar at the time. I don't even buy sugar anymore, but at that time, I was just learning how to cook food at home, like properly, healthy-ish meals. And I tried really hard to get into a workout regimen, and I hated working out forever. I love it now, but when I started, and when I still had like my disordered eating issue, I would go to the gym once, for a week every quarter, and then be like, good job. Fast forward a bit and then like some years of this kind of slow, very slow, but steady-ish progress. Learning, like that was the first thing I learned actually how to read when I went to Czech Republic was how to read labels
Mm.
in Czech. So that was kind of my start into reading healthy labels, starting to pay attention to what I'm actually consuming and so on. And so when I went to Ireland, I was in college in Ireland, and that was when I started kind of getting into the gym. And then since I worked in a wine bar and I dated a restaurateur, I was always eating really good food and drinking really good wine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would be having a glass of wine after a workout, like, huh, I wonder how this is impacting. And so then I started to go, maybe I should pay attention to my nutrition. So then I fast forward a little bit more, go to Australia, and long story short, how I got into biohacking, I fell off a push bike, a bicycle for Americans, and I dislocated my elbow. And my friend who has a biotech company in America was like, oh, where are these bracelets? I was like 4, and he was telling me that they were going to help me heal my arm faster. So that was how I learned what biohacking was, that we could use technology to literally hack our bodies and create better results. So that was how I got into biohacking. Then I moved to Vietnam, which was where I did all of my certifications for personal training, sports nutrition, and yoga instructing. And then I saw an ad for Lumen, and that was like, what is that? And it looked really, really cool. And I was super, super interested. But because I had just gotten my certification, I was like, and I was kind of like broke from living in America. So I was like, maybe not yet. I'm going to try. I'm going to try and do it on my own first. And
What were your goals at that point?
I wanted
At that point, what was your goal? Okay.
It's been a long time goal of mine. And so that was actually why I ended up getting Lumen in the end.
So at this point, you're able to read labels, you're eating healthier, and you're like, okay, I want to change my body composition. And at this point, you were working out or not quite yet?
I was working really hard on it too. And I would use skin calipers to take my body fat measurements, and I did, my cardio and my weight training, and I trained a lot, and I ate a lot of fruits and veggies and loads of protein and all that. I was really dialed in at this point, and I knew what I was doing, and I was very well disciplined already by this time to be training regularly, to be eating really healthily. I think at that point I was still sneak a cornetto once in a while.
What's a cornetto?
It's those little ice creams with the cones that have the chocolate filled.
Oh, okay. Yes, this is in Canada we call them drumsticks.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, they're basically drumsticks. They're exactly, yeah.
Okay.
I don't touch
Disciplined, but
anymore.
cornetto once in a while.
Yeah, once in a while I would still have like a little treat like that, but now I wouldn't call that a treat. I'd call it like I wouldn't eat food from an easy bake oven, so I'm not gonna eat. Do you know what I mean? It's not real.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna have a treat, it's gonna be made with real ingredients. It's like full stop. So I was doing really good. I had a pretty low body fat percentage. I was looking pretty lean. Actually, when I moved to Vietnam originally, that was probably like the leanest I'd ever seen myself. But I was quite small too. And I remember looking in the mirror going, wow, you're really lean right now, Nadia, but could probably thicken up a little bit. Not like stay lean, but like pack a little more muscle on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I would do. I would do build and cut is what we call it in the bodybuilding or fitness world. Is you go through build phases, which are bulking phases where you're eating loads of food, you're building muscle, you got a surplus of calories, and then you go through your cut phase, which is where you strip it all down and see how much muscle you built and hope that you keep that muscle while you strip down. So that was my kind of biggest obstacle, was that I could build and I could cut, but I couldn't do it in a way that would keep my lean muscle while I lost all of the excess.
So when you were cutting, you were losing muscle.
Yeah, I was basically staying the same composition, so I could get bigger, I could get smaller, but I couldn't change my composition to where I could actually see a six-pack, and I was kind of sad. So also, that was around the time, I think I was about 30 then. So somewhere between 31 and 33, I noticed a big shift in my metabolism as well. I noticed a big shift when I was about 22 as well. Like, I had to actually work for good legs then. I was like, what happened? They used to be, I think it was because I lived in stilettos once upon a time. But anyway, Europe is loads of cobblestones, so that was where my stilettos retired. So then I moved to Thailand, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a Lumen. It's going to be my birthday present to me. And I told myself I was going to get it for my birthday. And then I was like, no, I want a six-pack for my birthday. So I'm going to get a Lumen before my birthday so that I...
Smart.
And okay, full disclosure, I do not yet have a six-pack. However, I noticed massive, massive differences within literally 2 weeks. And it takes 2 weeks for Lumen to learn your breath signature. So it can give you, like, your personal recommendations super accurately, right? So within that couple of weeks, I know, 'cause I've played this game a lot, you got to trust the process. And a lot of times you see things go up before you see them come down, right? Which is one thing I tell my client all the time is like, can you relax? It's okay if your weight bumps up 1 to 3 pounds. Watch it drop, relax. Progress is not linear. And so I stuck with it, but literally within the first 2 weeks, I noticed a big difference, not just in like my actual body changing, but my energy levels like skyrocketed. My strength levels went way up. I was like, I'm already really strong, like humbly said.
Yeah. What's happening here?
I was hitting like new PRs on a really regular basis. I'm talking like my max after training 4 pull-ups, like for a year, I could still get 5.5 maybe if on a lucky day. I think it was really 4.5. And then all of a sudden one day I hit like 8 or 10, and then pistol squats. I used to be able to do 2 maximum on one side, and then I was hitting like 8, and I'm like, I hate cardio. If I'm being really honest, cardio is not I don't find it very fun. If it's outdoors, like rowing, cycling, swimming, something like that, that's cool. I'll do that. But you're never gonna catch me running for anything but a plane. And I started getting there really early, so I don't have to do that either. Um, but all of a sudden, not because I was trying to push myself harder, just because I had the energy for it, I was doing like fast mountain climbers, like fast. It was a really interesting change and a really fun one. And so after, all of the energy boosts, then I was seeing too, like my skin got really clear. Like I used to get like slight little spots or breakouts during like around my cycle. And now, unless I'm eating too much sugar or dairy, I don't see that. But Lumen also helped me see that it was sugar and dairy that was causing it. And I was like, that's interesting. Also, I lost a few pounds or kilograms even. Because weight loss wasn't really my target, right? Body recomposition was.
Right.
So whenever I lose weight, I'm like, was it muscle? So I'm usually checking, but I can say that regularly, like since I've been traveling this year since March, like nonstop since the beginning of March, pretty much, and I can still get in some workouts and stay pretty active. But even with traveling, even with not having a kitchen, even with traveling and like eating in restaurants and stuff, I can still hit my macros thanks to seeing and tracking with Lumen. I can still use my Lumen to see and check in, like, how is my body processing that meal? And I can adapt if necessary or something. Or if I'm not able to track my meals for whatever reason, I can still, or eat all my meals because, maybe I'm on a plane or, I don't know, working or at an event or something. And I can see, am I safely in fat burn or is my body going into metabolic stress? And if I can't stop and eat a meal, at least I can see, do I need to have a protein like bar or shake or a date or something like that right now? So that's helped keep me like really on point with my metabolism. But I did lose a couple of 2 or 3% body fat, I would say, really early on, like really early on. Like within the first, I'd have to go back and check my updates in Lumen community. But it was like probably within the first couple of months, I saw my body fat percentage shift. And it wasn't even like just exciting because I saw it shift. It was really exciting because I had broken the plateau that I was stuck at for like 3 years. And I was like, it happened.
Okay, so let's talk about the things that maybe helped you break that plateau, do you think? Or just from when you started using Lumen and you started seeing these results, what do you think was actually what caused it? Because you blow into Lumen, okay, but it gives you feedback. So what did you do with that feedback that helped you to break through this plateau?
So with Lumen, it tells you with the little tips in the app, and also, of course, like a bit with my background, I know like the metabolic health pillars, right? We know that it's sleep, hydration. I say hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress levels, your activity level. I got to see with Lumen just how important every 30 minutes or more of sleep is. Like it makes a difference, a huge difference. The timing of meals matters. I got to see when to break my fast or when to re-up my carbs. The fasting window, that was a really big one for me because everybody knows with intermittent fasting, you've got the most popular one is the 16-8 window splits. And just because you're following that plan that generally works doesn't mean that that's what's right for you in general or even for that day. Like my fasting window changes daily, as you can see, everybody can see when they're using Lumen. But I also got to see my workouts were a big one. So I would say overtrain. I used to train 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, sometimes a little bit more. But it's fun for me. I genuinely enjoy training, and like it just was pushing my cortisol levels too high and actually holding me back. So I got to see that lower intensity, longer, okay, or shorter workouts with higher intensity were working for me. So I basically got to drastically reduce my time in the gym. If I want to go, great, I can, but I don't have to commit nearly as much time to training as I did before, which is kind of cool. And I can see, since I am traveling so much, I can also use Lumen to help me stay really lean and fit when I don't have access to training. So I don't have to go to the gym all the time to be able to still look and feel amazing, which is
because Lumen will give you your macros, your nutrition plan for the day, and then it gives you more if you decide to work out. So it's not like you need to eat less. It's actually, we do it. If you're going to do a workout today, then you get more on top of this. So
Yeah, and
you have your
also,
baseline set for you.
so yeah, with the morning breath, and I also got to see my morning cortisol effect. So like within the first, I can see how long it takes my cortisol to drop in the morning. Sometimes it doesn't. There's no cortisol spike, which is fine. But I can also take one every 10 to 20 minutes and literally watch my cortisol drop. I can see the like let's say I wake up which isn't common, but if it happens, and I can see how long it takes to dip back down like 10% at a time or 20% at a time, or even sometimes just really, really fast. So that's been really interesting. I have noticed if I have a high reading in the morning, there are a few things I can do to make my number drop within the first hours of black coffee, which I find really interesting because a lot of people say don't have coffee on an empty stomach or it's going to boost your cortisol. A lot of times sometimes it can. Most of the time it pushes me into fat burn, actually.
It's so interesting. Coffee is one of those things that you really need to try for yourself because, for example, me, coffee on an empty stomach, there's no way. I feel horrible. I definitely get cortisol spike. I definitely get stressed. But we know that coffee has fat burning effects. So it's like it really depends on the person.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on a lot of environmental factors or lifestyle factors at that
And
particular time for you too.
what you did the night before and before you drink the coffee in the morning and all the things leading up to that cup of coffee, definitely. And that's stress, right? Sometimes things that stress you out one day don't stress you out the next day. So this is
True.
the name of the game, cortisol. So cortisol has a huge impact on our metabolism, which if we don't know, we're learning, right? This is like a lot of the new science and the new stuff that's coming out. You see a lot right now on social media and stuff is cortisol, cortisol, cortisol. You need to do things that are more calming.
Like, yeah, exactly. And so many people are so stressed. And I wouldn't say typically that I thought that I lived a very high stress life. I mean, I live a pretty magical life if I look at it from my own perspective. But then when people like talk, they're like, "You're really busy, Nadia," and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I am. I guess I am." But I enjoy the things I do, so most of the time I don't feel super stressed. When I have a lot of like travel planning logistics and I work online, so there's an element of like ability and self-sustainability in that as well. So I guess that mostly I'm like, where am I going to get my fiber and protein today?
Okay, so let's go into that. Tell us, okay, one of the biggest things that we see in the community is how do we eat this much food? And since my macros change every day, how can I plan for this? Because it's a challenge that a lot of people have. So let's take that challenge. Let's apply it to your life. Now you're like, how do I eat this much food? How do I plan? And I don't have a kitchen most of the time. Where am I going to get it? How do you do it? How do you follow the nutrition plan? Living the lifestyle that you live.
So as you just described,
You can do it. Anyone can do it.
I can do it. Jeez.
Exactly, jinx.
Literally, you guys, when I live in Thailand, I'm going to be moving bungalows when I go back. But for most of the year, I'm cooking on like, those little campfire gas grill and a rice cooker. Like that's my kitchen, okay? So you can make anything work for you in a kettle. Most of the time I have a kettle. So I was wondering the same thing when I first started with Lumen. And I'm like, how am I supposed to meal plan? How am I supposed to shop if I don't or even meal prep? Like that's the hardest thing because like if your macros are changing every day, but you already prepped this, but it's not going to fit tomorrow's plan. So that was a learning curve and it got really easy actually. So once you're on using Lumen for quite a while, I guess, or even, I don't know, a few weeks, maybe a month at most, you start to notice the trends, your own personal patterns. And so once Lumen learns you, which is after about 2 weeks, and you get your breast signature is learned by the device, and then it's going to start giving you macros for your lifestyle, right? And so if I know already that I train 3 to 5 times per week, depending on like where I'm at or whatever, and I know how much like carbs, fat, or protein is going to be added to my meal plan based on that, then I can start to build on what I know. And it's kind of just trend tracking, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to go build like a chart or anything. You just go, let's say, for example, I need grams of yeah, right. 80 grams of fat for the day. I always need a minimum of 110 grams of protein every day. And my carbs will never go lower than 90, and they usually don't go higher than 270. And so
So once
I know.
you use Lumen a bit, you know kind of your ranges. So that's
Mhm.
helpful. You can also
Yeah, if you go to like your personal, your account settings and everything, your personal profile, and then it will tell you what your ranges are going to be. And actually, here's another fun thing I actually forgot. The first 9 months of using Lumen, first month I used grams and I didn't have a scale. So I was guessing based on prior practice of tracking with a scale. And then I switched to portions. So I was getting crazy great results. I even lost 2 inches in my waist. I think I dropped 2 kilograms as well and built muscle. Like, I think I'd built 6 pounds of muscle when I'd lost 2 or 3% body fat as well. And I was like, dang, and I eat a lot. I'm not a person who struggles with hitting calories because I personally love to eat. But a lot of people struggle with hitting their protein target because they don't like to eat that much meat, for example. Or if they're vegetarian or vegan, they don't like to eat that many eggs or beans. But there are so many other protein options. Like, I've done vegan diet, I've done vegetarian, I've done pescatarian, I've done them all. The only one I haven't done is carnivore because I do like fruits and vegetables. I'm a fruitaholic. I love fruit. So what I would do is I would buy protein and I would keep a lot of it stocked in the freezer, so that I always had protein options. And then I would keep, like, let's say I stocked my freezer with chicken thighs, drumsticks, and ground beef, maybe a couple of steaks and some fish. So then I've got lean options, I've got high fat options, I've got moderate options, and I've got variety. And also I'd keep in some tempeh and tofu as well. Just maybe I needed a higher carb, a protein option. And so I'd keep those in the freezer, and then I'd have like 1 or 2 packs of something in the fridge so that they were always on rotation. And then I would make sure that I had vegetables and fruit, but I would make sure that I knew where I was at in my cycle of, like, so Lumen does carb cycling, right? So if I wait 4 days consecutively in fat burn, I know I'm going to need to plan for a boost day. And if you come to a boost day, which means you're going to have really low fat and really high carbohydrates, if I don't have lean protein on hand and I'm not fully stocked on carbohydrates, I'm going to be in trouble. But I had days to plan for this, so that was how
and
I made sure.
once you know how to eat on a boost day, it becomes like a bit easier. Like you're like, okay, if all goes well, tomorrow will be a boost day. What do I have around me? And also, I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, boost day, cheat day. Boost days are actually very hard because you don't get the fat that you want.
Exactly. Sometimes if I, like, tomorrow I'm going to be doing a boost day, all going metabolically well. And so far, I have noticed my metabolism is like wildly flexible lately. I'm like, dang, Nadia, you're on point. My little cells are happy.
So what does it mean? What do you mean when you say your metabolism is flexible? Like, just give us
Okay.
how does that look in your day-to-day life?
So metabolically flexible meaning you can easily shift between your carb and fat sources, which is the whole point of Lumen. It's training your metabolism to be really good at doing that. And so when I eat a meal and I can jump, so okay, let's say I wake in fat burn and then I break my fast probably a couple hours later, either still in fat burn or I might have jumped up to a 3, but I will try really hard not to let it go beyond a 3 because I don't want to lose my muscle. Sometimes, however, I can, if I want to prolong my fast, and I jumped up to a 3, then I'll just break my fast. So when I break my fast and I check my post-meal breath, usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours later, I'm either gonna see that I'm gonna see my body already, like, is shifting up from fat burn to a 3 or a 4. So that tells me that my body is efficiently using the carbs that I just ate. And then within another hour or so before my next meal, I'm already back in fat burn. So before I
This is what you mean when you say like you see your body is flexible. You see like, okay, I'm eating carbs, maybe even I'm eating more carbs than I'm used to, but you see that your body's handling it. It's using those carbs and sending you back to fat burn before you're hungry again.
Yeah, I can have, let's say on a regular day, like when it's like a medium carb day, my carbs will be like 50 to 170. And I can have half of my carbs nearly for breakfast. Like, let's say sometimes I'll have like 45 to 65 carbs just for breakfast. And but they're good carbs, right? I'm not eating a bunch of sugar. Fruit
Yeah.
sugar, yes. So I love fruit. But I'll have like, let's say a slice of sourdough. Lately my breakfast here, my host makes me breakfast. She's so lovely. She'll bring me a 2 egg with some steamed vegetables and a slice of sourdough bread from the local bakery, and that's about this big. And I'll use one of the little packets of butter, which I know is 7 grams of butter because it says it on the packet, so I don't have to guess.
Amazing.
And then she'll give me some fruit on the side. Usually it's like papaya and dragon fruit, sometimes with some mango or banana. Sometimes she'll sprinkle like a tablespoon of granola and maybe a tablespoon of Greek yogurt. But that's a solid, really balanced breakfast. And that's a great way to my day. And then by the time it's time for lunch, I can see I'm already in fat burn, and I can pretty much, I don't want to say eat what I want. I stay on my macros pretty well, but then I know that my body's not going to be like carbs that I don't need. I'm not overfilling my glycogen stores. My body's like, cool, bring it on. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't mind if I do.
So when your metabolism is flexible, you see that, like, I don't know who it is, but there's one doctor who gives an analogy of like you keeping the carbs that you're eating in the fridge. You're not putting them in the freezer because you don't need them later. You want to keep them in the fridge, take them out, use them. Take them out, use them instead of putting them in the freezer to save them for later. So when you're metabolically flexible, and you're seeing it with Lumen, is you're eating those carbs in the morning, the fruit, the sourdough bread, these are like good healthy carbs, but you're not freezing them. You're not putting them away. You're using them for your day, and then you're moving on to lunch. Yeah.
Don't overstock. Americans, we don't like to go to the grocery store that much. Like the less the better. So I would stock as if I were like not going to the grocery store again for at least a week. Like 2 is even better. But I learned keeping things really fresh on hand is also really good for you too. The fresher, the better. So I started stocking for only maybe 3 days at a time instead of a week and a half.
Yeah.
So then you don't feel the pressure to like, oh, I have to eat everything because I bought everything. That was
Right.
another really big learning curve for me too, because I'm one of those people. I don't live in America, but I don't like to go shopping very much.
I'm the opposite. I'm every day, if I could, I would be in the market. I love it. I have like a market here close by, so it's like easy and fresh.
So nice.
But one of the things that I found that really helps me, I like to prep food. So like last night, for example, I barbecued like 15 chicken thighs. And so now I have in the fridge ready to go chicken. And we know that there we go. That's my protein. Chicken thighs have a little bit more fat than a chicken breast. I'll roast up, 5 sweet potatoes, and then but I won't put them in the same container. First of all, I don't like it when they sit together. But second of all, it makes it easier. I can like mix and match. And then I find that fat is super easy for me to hit. I don't need to try to hit my fat. I'm like, no problem to eat a spoon of peanut butter if I'm not at my fat, but usually I don't need to even do that. So I think that's also a big one is to like prep things individually. You said, like stocking the freezer so you always have something that you can take out and cook. Yeah.
And things that don't go bad too, like potatoes, any kind of potatoes don't really go bad. Anything that
cans of
basically can be
beans.
stocked. Yeah. Rice. And I get so sad when I hear people go, I stopped eating bread, pasta, and rice. And I'm like, oh, those are 3 of the really yummy foods. Why would you do that? Get potatoes. And I'm like, no, carbs are friends. They are food.
Yeah.
Like you said, so chicken thighs, especially when I'm in America, are one of my biggest go-tos because they're really easy to get from like Sam's Club. And I would take a whole packet of them and I'll put them in like a glass casserole dish. And then Trader Joe's has these like $2 pretty clean seasonings. And so I would take like 3 or 4 different seasonings and I'd go, all right, chili, lime, citrus, whatever. And like I would do sections so that I also wasn't bored with my flavors. I could mix and match my flavors too. But sweet potatoes are like my favorite vegetable. I love sweet potatoes.
Me too. Me too.
But yeah, so that's kind of how I handled my meal prep and planning. I tried not to overcook or over prep things to keep the variety and freshness, but also to like account for like what's coming with Lumen. I prefer chicken thighs to chicken breasts because when before I had Lumen, it was always chicken breast because chicken breast is lean. No, chicken thighs are where it's at. That's where all the flavor is.
Okay, so we talked about a little bit before about trusting the process. You mentioned it, we kind of grazed over it, but it's something that I think a lot of us veteran Lumen users say. Let's dive into like what it means and how do we trust the process as a newbie that's here at Lumen. They're like excited to make this change and they're not seeing the results in the first day, the first week. So like,
Yeah.
first of all, what does trust the process mean? And second of all, what's your advice to someone when you say trust the process?
Okay. This is one reason I love training because I love fast results. I like to see results, and if I don't see results, I think it's not working and I'll give up. But I heard that
It's
so
also
many
part of our
times.
culture now that we're like, okay, we want results yesterday. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard to not see that sometimes.
It is, and with training, I learned a few things. You do have to trust the process because progress is not linear. A lot of times you see the scale go up right before you have a big drop, which I also noticed with Lumen. So I would see like, okay, Lumen is giving me kind of a lot of extra carbs or whatever. It seems like I'm having a lot of calories right now. And so I would see my number kind of creep up on the scale a little bit, and then all of a sudden, boop, just kidding.
Mhm.
So, because progress is not linear, you will, if you're tracking your data with Lumen, you will see your trend line go like this. You're not going to see it go like this, and you don't want it to. Because so
Mhm.
the same way that we're doing carb cycling and you have more carbs mean you're holding more water. So you're naturally going to see your number bump up on the scale a little bit, and then you're going to cycle back down because now you're dropping your carbs and decreasing your glycogen stores, right? And so with that, with every one carb, you're holding at least 2 to 3 parts water. And so naturally,
Mhm.
you're going to have a little bit more water. But for all of you under eaters out there, eat more, you're actually going to see your number go down. You're going to see your waist is going to shrink. Your muscles are going to look fuller. You're going to look and
Mhm.
feel so much better. Your energy is going to be on point. You're going to be so shocked. And I hear this a lot with anybody who's talked to me about like, no, I'm scared to eat over X amount of calories. So trust the process because
Eat the food.
we hear it all the time. Things get worse before they get better, or if everybody always gives up just before they have their biggest breakthrough because it's
Mhm.
true. And we can say
Yeah.
that because we have trusted the process long enough to know that you can trust the process. And with training, because
If you
I've
don't
done that,
trust the process, trust us.
yeah, exactly. Because you've got to like, people will follow someone who's done something before. They don't have to have them as their coach or their mentor or anything. Just seeing that somebody has done something before automatically shifts something in your brain that goes, oh, it can be done because somebody already did it. And
Yeah.
I've seen with in training, like everybody who has the level of muscle density and lean muscle like physique that I want, they have all been training for at least 20 years. I haven't
Mhm.
been training for 20 years yet. So it's just that's not the mark I get to be at. But if I trust the process and continue the process, I know that's exactly where I will be, especially if I'm using Lumen. I'll probably get there even faster. Before Lumen, I have never been able to train so little, eat
Mhm.
so much, and stay so lean.
Wow.
Like
Nice. I like that.
I when I post pictures, I'm like, "Oh, I don't look that lean right now," but I'll post and people are like, "Dang, you keep getting more muscle every time I see another picture of you," or like, "Wow, you have abs." And I'm like, "Oh, you can see them?" Because like I can usually see them a lot with Lumen now, even if it's not a
Mhm.
six pack. I can see like I call them my fingers. They're actually like your serratus anterior, like those your rib muscles.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, it's wild. So I can say trust the process with Lumen because whether I'm training or not training, if I'm following my macros, I can see a massive difference in my body, in my physique. My quads have developed massively, even though, like, even without like excessive training on them, I can see
Yeah.
them start to split into actual quads now. Yeah, it's honestly wild. Like I was telling you a while ago that somewhere between like 31 and 33 where my metabolism started to shift, and I noticed that my midsection wasn't I couldn't cut it as easily in my midsection, like
Mhm.
there. And now I'm like I stay like pretty flat tummy now. And I'm like, it's nice because I'm 35. Women lose 1% muscle mass every year from the time they're 30. So to and I'm banging on about this a lot. To not be resistance training and to not be eating enough protein is not setting yourself up for a good quality of life. And having Lumen tell you exactly how much protein you need is going to be
Mhm.
doing you a massive service, not just for your physique, but for your actual quality of life well into your later years. Unless you want to be walking with a cane or sitting in a wheelchair, you really do need
You have to
Lumen.
preserve that muscle. Yeah.
You do.
Okay, so this is a great opening. Let's talk women's health. Let's talk protein. You mentioned about muscle declining from age 30. We are not little men. We are very complex human beings and our physiology is different. So let's talk about. I have a few questions. As someone who's so tuned into their body and also your body composition and your lumen levels, do you see fluctuations throughout the month in
Yeah.
your do you train differently? How does that look throughout the month?
Okay. Sometimes I do notice differences around, like my cycle, for example. Your bodies naturally, as women, our bodies naturally push more into carb burn. That doesn't mean that I can't support my body with, and like, look at that data and go, what does my body need to be fully supported right now so that it can reach fat burn? Sometimes that just comes with some gentle movement or like yoga or get a massage.
Well,
Lumen is actually really good at it knows when my cycle is. It's like, "Hey, did you get
mhm,
your cycle?" And it'll say like, "Yes" or "Not yet." And it will start giving me tips and recommendations on how to support my hormones and health through that period. And so
mhm.
usually I don't see too much like crazy activity around it, but if I do start seeing like fours instead of twos or threes, then I can start to go, I don't have to freak out about it. I know it's probably
Yeah.
because of my cycle. And then I go, okay, so just the awareness around that means that I'm not going to raise my cortisol by stressing about a high number when I didn't expect to see a high number. Instead, I
Right.
can go, what can I do to like bring that number down? Is it actually carb burn? And like that's where my body's at, or is it actually stress because of all the other things that are going on while I'm having my cycle or something like that? So
Mhm.
usually, a bit of movement, like people think maybe don't exercise while you're on your cycle. Absolutely, you can. You don't have to go like crazy hard at the gym or anything, but any kind of movement is going to help pull all of that like extra glucose out of your blood. And it's
Mhm.
also going to release all those happy endorphins in your brain. It's going to reduce your stress level. It's just going to make you feel really happy. Also, dark chocolate.
I love when Lumen tells me, "You can eat some dark chocolate today." I'm like, "Thank you."
Like, don't mind if I
That's a
do.
that's a
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, and actually, I did a little experiment once, and I had 100% dark chocolate bar, and I would mix it, like, I would no but wait, I'm not gonna eat it like that.
95. I can do 95, but
I
100,
go
it's just
I go 100% dark, but then I put in, like, a spoon of almond butter, and then a pinch of pink salt, and then some, like, stevia or honey, or both.
okay.
And then I melt it together and then dip fruit in it. It's basically like a homemade fondue with like all the healthy fats. But the benefit, my skin literally like within a week or something of doing this, my skin looked like I was in my 20s again. And I was like,
Oh, I'm gonna try that.
yeah, I mean, all right, I have like young looking skin. I'm going to go find some dark chocolate. But yeah, hormone health is super important, and I find that Lumen has actually helped me massively with that,
Mhm,
just by making sure I get enough fats, and I'm cycling because I would do carb cycling before, but
mhm.
like we know it from Lumen College, for example, randomly carb cycling is just going, yeah, today feels like a good day for a boost day, or
Yeah.
maybe I'll back off a little. Random carb cycling isn't really benefiting that much, which is probably why I was seeing that I could stay relatively lean because I was so active,
Mhm.
but not getting the results that I really wanted.
Take us through like kind of a typical day week, because I think what is really interesting to a lot of people and a lot of people who are listening is how not only how you had success, because like we said, you like to see that other people succeeded because then it gives you the sense of I can do it too. But also, I think it's nice to give people ideas of either how to change things up or how to get started with building like a routine, or in your case, kind of a lack thereof routine.
Yeah, people I've noticed in the Lumen community, they're not always sure about what do the numbers mean? Why are they getting these numbers at that particular time? And what do they do with the information? One thing I saw more than a few times was, well, Lumen clearly doesn't work because I just ate a pizza and I'm burning fat. And I'm like, yeah, because pizzas have a lot of cheese. So what people have to understand is Lumen is giving you insight into what your body is burning right now. And so if you have to understand, like, you have your macronutrients, right? Your proteins, your fat, and your carbohydrates. Your body's primary fuel source is carbohydrates, secondary is fat, and hopefully it's not going to go breaking down protein, right? But if you're not giving it enough of the first two, it's going to go start breaking down muscle. Okay, so if you pair these, if you eat carbs on your own, which is why a lot of people find themselves really hungry after they just ate a really big, heavy carb meal, they're not adding enough protein or fat in there to slow down the digestion of those carbs, or they're really fast carbs, or both. A fast carbs meaning not complex carbs like grains, rice, beans, stuff like that.
And fast carbs are like those carbs
Fast
that
carbs
go
like fruit,
quickly.
sugar, candy,
Yeah.
things like that. Like if there's a time and a place for everything, right? If you wanted to go do a workout, but your lumen levels are saying you're not well supported for the workout you've planned, you can grab a fast carb like a banana or an apple, and then you can go train and know that your body's is going to tap. If you're metabolically flexible, but probably anyway, you're gonna probably tap into that fruit source right now. I've even had trainers tell me, "But just have some candy before you go in," because even that is a better source of energy than, breaking down muscle because you decided to go train when your body wasn't supported for it. I'm not recommending that, just saying technically.
I also don't recommend candy as fuel, but I will say that one time I was in a workout and one of the girls, she really didn't feel well. She started to feel like sick. And actually, at my gym, they have candy on hand for situations like this, for like that super fast sugar. And she sat down, she ate a few pieces of candy. It's easier to have candy on hand than fresh fruit. Fresh fruit goes bad. So they gave her a few pieces of candy. She sat down and she came and finished the workout with us.
I believe it. I was in Egypt and my blood sugar tanked so quick in the desert. When you can feel all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh, uh-oh. I was like, "Can you please make me a salted lemonade, like, immediately?" And they did, and I usually avoid white refined sugar, like, I don't but if I'm about to die, I'm gonna have a little sugar. So and immediately it worked, so that's kind of the point of that, but
Yeah.
understanding your reading. So if you just ate a high carb, high fat meal, then your body is going to be slowing that digestion rate of those carbohydrates. So if you just took a breath, let's say even 1 hour after that meal, especially let's say is 1 hour after, you're probably going to see a 2 or a 3 because your body's going to be burning fat and carbs. Give it another hour or two, and you're going to see that go up to a 4 or 5 if it was a pizza, almost definitely. Okay, because that's when, okay, we've slowed it, but we're still going to burn it. So eventually it's going to get to that carb burn. And the more metabolically fit and flexible you are, the faster you're going to see those changes, those fluctuations happen. So,
I
how
think
to
that's
understand.
a really important point I just wanna emphasize is that if we're not already metabolically healthy, then we might see ones and twos after we eat carbs because our body's not using them right away because we're not more flexible. So, it's actually like you said, I just really want to drive home this point, is when we do become more metabolically healthy, more flexible, then that's when you start to see those higher numbers quicker, basically.
Yes, exactly. Which is good to check in. Some people don't know that they can take more than one post-meal breath. You can't And it's good to do so so that you can see how long is it taking your body to shift to using that energy source. So you can also start planning your meal timing that way, because you know that if let's say you had a breakfast like mine this morning, which was like, I don't know, 65 carbohydrates, in like less than 30 grams of protein and about as much fat, my number did jump up high because I wasn't slowing digestion too much, but I
Right.
did get to jump up to a 4 because I am metabolically flexible. And so my body
Right.
was immediately pretty much starting to use immediately. You should check about an hour or so or two after you eat. But you can learn too how metabolically fit you are, flexible you are, by seeing how long, like Emma said, does it take for you to get from
Mhm.
one number to another number and back down again. Lifestyle.
Mhm.
So as far as like how you build your day, personally, I would recommend wake up with the sun. If you don't wake up with the sun, that's fine. But in the first 10 minutes of waking up, get some sunlight on your skin so that your brain is triggered to start producing melatonin in the next 12 hours. And then when it does, then you're going to get to go to sleep on time and you're going to get to have a good restful night's sleep. For
Mhm.
women, I've noticed in the community as well, there's some women who've been using Lumen who've also noticed the same thing. Make sure that you allocate some of your carbs for dinner. Lumen does suggest for most people not to have a carb-heavy dinner. And now, after using Lumen for a long time, I don't have to have a lot of carbs at night to wake up in fat burn. But it used to be when I started out, if I went to sleep at a 2, I would not wake up at a 2.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
if I go to sleep at a 2, I can still wake up at a 2. But a lot of women notice for healthy hormone function, they actually need to allocate at least 20 to 30 grams of carbs for dinner. And I still
Me,
prefer that.
I need carbs at dinner, and I'm talking rice or sweet potato, not like beans, nothing like complex. Real deal carbs at dinner.
Mhm.
That's how I feel my best, really. I
Yes.
will say I was a bit scared of carbs, and now I'm like, "Wow, actually the right carbs do wonders for me."
It's a
I
really
feel
fun
so good.
was brought up. Too, what I noticed was, okay, so like I took my mom on a cruise for her 70th birthday, right?
Mhm.
And I had some work to do, so I bought the internet package for my laptop, but I was not about to pay 100 something dollars for internet for my phone, because like, no, because then I would just be on my phone distracted anyway, right? So the
Yeah.
point being, I didn't have access to my Lumen for a whole week, and I was like, oh my God, what's this going to do to my data? Since I'd been using Lumen for a while already, I already knew more or less what my targets were going to be,
Mhm.
how many carbs or fat or protein I was going to need to add per any workout that I did. And of course, I hit the gym on the ship, 3 sessions on the ship, and I did a scuba diving day. And then my nieces like to be like piggyback rides. So that was a good 35, 45 pounds I get to like walk around with, right?
Yeah.
And so, and like, oh my God, so you guys, if you've been on a cruise, you are always going to be getting your steps in. Like, they're so big. Point being, with all this like 24/7 food access and
Mhm.
variety, I was always getting my protein in. I had
Mhm.
dessert at least once a day. and and I still, when I got off the ship, twos every day. And I was like, and I stayed and like
Mhm.
energy on point. And so, point being, you can still have your cake and eat it too. I was still staying active when I was having desserts on the ship every day, at least once a day, with fruit too. I still was able to maintain my metabolic flexibility and my twos every morning because I was still
Mhm.
staying active, not like I had to be going, oh, I got to go to the gym. Like, I did
Yeah.
a few times because I enjoyed it, but I also went to the thermal spa because stress management. It was a
Mhm.
family cruise, right? So, anyway,
Say no
the
more.
point is, go on your holiday, enjoy yourself. You can, if you fall off the wagon. I don't even like to say that. Have a treat. I don't
Mhm.
call them cheat days. I call them treat days. Cheating implies you're doing something bad. When you're giving yourself a treat,
Mhm.
it's not anything bad. It's something it's life. Like you said, we're celebrating, enjoying ourselves. It doesn't mean you
Mhm.
have to be 100% perfect every single day. If I go 10 grams over on my carbs, I'm not going to cry about it. I'm going to be fine.
And I think the biggest thing that's the most exciting is it's all an experiment. It's all for you to see your trends. It's for you to know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. It's there so that you can see it in a nice, organized, colorful package. It's for you at the end of the day. So it's what you're learning about your body. And I think that's what's so important, because we get a lot of questions of like, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? My biggest advice, and it's not always people's favorite, is like, try it out or don't try it out. But like,
Oh, I did
yeah.
so much trial and error with
Mm-hmm.
because I love experiments and my favorite experiments to do are on myself. And so with Lumen, when I first got it, I went through a period of for an entire month and I made myself stick to a whole month of training every other day, I think it was, or once every 2 days maybe. And then the second month
Mm-hmm.
I trained once every other day. And then once I started kind of seeing my trends and seeing my progress, basically what I was doing was testing, have I been overtraining and how much should I be cutting
Mm-hmm.
it back? And then where's my sweet spot basically? And I built myself up to be able to train 5 days in a row. But maybe I wasn't going, I would set an alarm so that I knew now's your cutoff, stop training, Nadia, because I'll go all day. I love training. So now I hated training before, like I hated it. But the like you said, trial and error, see what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are either overestimating or underestimating their workout activity and how much they should be adding. Some of you are underestimating so that you don't have to add more calories.
She's giving you the
Some of
eyes.
you are
For those of you that are just listening, she's giving you the eyes.
That's right. And some of you are doing exactly the opposite. So don't
Yeah.
cheat the system. You're only cheating yourself. Just trial and error. Do what you like to do. And I'm not gonna say I've seen people go, oh, I stay in your comfort zone. That's exactly where dreams go to die. Don't stay in your comfort zone. Push yourself a little bit. But you don't have to push yourself into the point of being like physically or mentally
Mm-hmm.
too far stretched. Stretch yourself just enough to grow, not enough to break, right? And you can do that with Lumen. You can see, do you need to do just a 15-minute workout today or a 20-minute workout? Do you want to increase your activity, your intensity, or lower it? And make sure that you take your post-workout breath so that you can get an actual honest
Mm-hmm.
reading of how intense your workout actually was. So I got to see that some days where it felt like it was a really intense workout wasn't really that intense for my mitochondria. Were like,
Yeah.
we're good.
And for some people, the pushing yourself and getting yourself outside of your comfort zone is actually doing less. It's
Yeah,
actually
that was me.
like, yeah, I find like I like a high intensity workout. I prefer to do it in the morning without having food. It's not what's the best for me. So actually, decided I'm not going to give that up. But I'm doing, instead of 4 or 5 a week, I'm doing 2 or 3 and supplementing the other days with slower, lower intensity things. So sometimes I just want to say, like Nadia said, to push yourself actually is to reel it in a bit.
Yeah, that was where I was. I had to reel it in a lot of it. Um, but it's not gonna stay that way forever. Like what works for you this month might change next
Yeah.
month. Data, and then you can make informed decisions. You can trend in a direction that you want to trend in. Like you can make it work for you, and you can build a life that you actually truly enjoy, doing activities that you actually enjoy, and still be training your metabolism to be super super fit and flexible.
And I think one of the most important things, and I really try to tell this to people also, but we get questions are like, what foods should I eat? And what workouts should I do? And what time of the day should I work out? And really kind of looking for this box. And I think the best workout is the one that you'll do consistently. And the best time to work out, again, is the time that you'll continue to go back to. So if that's in the morning, if it's at night, if it's in the middle of the day, it's really like up to you. And I think what makes the Lumen macros and the nutrition plan so great is you decide what food you want to eat. And we'll tell you kind of how to get there, but eat the foods that you like, not the foods that we're not going to tell you to eat broccoli every day. If you hate broccoli, don't eat broccoli ever if you don't want. Eat carrots and bok choy instead. So I think it's really about personalizing it to yourself, and it takes some time to find what you like and what works for you. But once you get there, it's like empowering. It's exciting.
It's really, really, it is. And also, one other thing I got to learn that you just reminded me to share with Lumen is don't just go do your workout because your workout plan says that that was the plan today. That's not,
Mm,
a lot of people think that's what discipline looks like, and it can, but just because that's what the plan is doesn't mean that's what you should do. I can't tell you how many workouts I've canceled because Lumen was like, actually, you're not well supported for this right now. And maybe I
mhm,
didn't have time to eat and then, or whatever the case was. But I'm not about to, just because that's the plan, go put my body through a bunch of stress when I'm actually
mhm,
going to be working against my goals by doing so. And
mhm.
I can see that thanks to Lumen, which is also partly why I get to train less, not because I'm canceling all my workouts, but because
Get
I
kicked
can
out of
see
all the gyms.
like when should I train, when can I train fasted, when can I
Yeah.
or should I train fueled,
Yeah.
and that can change on a, I don't want to say it can change on a regular basis. What I mean is you don't have to stick to one for forever. Herbs.
I have two final questions. One is if you can go back to Nadia at age 30 or 22 or any time, what would you tell her and how would you get her excited about this journey that she's about to embark on?
At 22, I had just moved to the Czech Republic when I told myself disordered eating was not going to be my way of life anymore. And I would say if Lumen existed, did exist then, 13 years ago, then
Oh, quite almost.
if it had, then I would be like, babes, this is what you need. I know that there's a lot of information out there and it's hard
Mhm,
to learn how to do all these things. But if you just have this device and it gives you the inside of your body is literally telling you exactly what you need to look
mhm,
good, feel good, not just like, because at that point with disordered eating, you're looking in terms of like a lot of external motivation, right? And so
mhm,
my shift to actually committing to a healthy lifestyle didn't come until I decided to switch to intrinsic. And that is a self-worth conversation. And I think Lumen helps massively with that mindset because it kind of gave me, even in at 30, it gave me a lot of self-grace, a door for self-grace of going, no, Nadia, you don't have to push hard today. That's not what your body is asking you for. You get
mhm,
to rest. You get to self-care today. You get to go for a massage. You get to take a step back and you get to just focus on supporting yourself with healthy nutrition and
mhm,
some mindful breathing and meditation or something on the beach today instead. You don't have to go
mhm.
and push and push and push and try so hard. At 30, I would have said, stop being so thick, Nadia, and stubborn and just get the freaking device already. And just shortcut your way to success, please. You don't have anything to prove that you can do it on your own. You can do it manually. As I've had coaches like in the bodybuilding world, like, like serious, like show bodybuilders saying like, no, I don't need that. Just do it manually. Manually works. I'm like, just because it works doesn't mean it's the most efficient. Just
Mhm.
because you can get some results with that doesn't mean that you're going to get the best results and also be supporting your mitochondrial and metabolic health at the same time.
Wow, Nadia, thanks so much for joining us today. It was fun to chat with you. I'm sure our audience will be able to connect really well to your story and all of the stories that you shared.
If you have any questions about how to use Lumen or how to make Lumen work for you, or if you get stuck with understanding your readings or literally any kind of support that you need with your health journey, with using Lumen, with starting a workout regimen, whatever it is, please reach out. I'll be happy to send you a message back and support you the best way that I can. Because you're worth it and you should put the time in. Whatever the price of Lumen is, I promise it's worth it. I would pay full price for it all over again. It's amazing.
Amazing. Nadia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Emma.